This is Caleb and Sophia. If you're unfamiliar, it's Jehovah's Witness propaganda for children, and they just released a new episode. Now, they don't release episodes very often. It's once every, month, maybe 2 months, something like that. But I wasn't sure what they were going to do with the series because it kind of blew the entire ex-Jehovah's Witness community away to find out that the guy that was kind of leading the project, Tony Morris, got fired from the governing body. It was crazy. This guy right here, Tony Morris, no longer governing body member. It was just a huge shakeup. Anyway, I didn't know what was going to happen with Caleb and Sophia. Well, it looks like they're continuing it anyways, although they're not numbering the lessons anymore. They used to number the lessons. So a previous episode, the one right before this newest one, was titled How to Get Baptized, Sophia Progress for Baptism, basically. So it was trying to encourage Sophia, the girl, to get baptized. And we're going to watch that one in a minute, too. But let's just start out with this unbaptized publisher thing, and I'll explain kind of what that means as we go along, okay? Unbaptized publisher means you are not a Jehovah's Witness. You're not baptized as one, but you are qualified, quote unquote, by them to go knocking on doors on their behalf. That's what an unbaptized publisher is. So we're just going to watch through the first 30 seconds of this so we have some context, and then I'll explain what's happening here, okay?
Hey, Dad. Here's my service report.
Good. You can put it on the bench.
Okay. Dad, when can I be a publisher?
Ah, you have brought this up before.
If you've been following like this story this whole time, you can tell the animation style is very different.
Hey, Dad. Here's my service report.
I'll explain what a service report is in a second. So the dad is repairing the car, apparently. That's the man's job, right? The man's role in the family is to repair things, okay?
Good. You can put it on the bench.
Okay.
He's the head of the family, and as the head of the family, he receives the service reports and then turns the service reports in to the elders himself.
Dad, when can I be a publisher?
So obviously, Caleb is showing an interest in what's happening with Sophia. When I was a Jehovah's Witness, they had this little sheet. It was a little tiny index card type of thing that was printed en masse by Jehovah's Witnesses. And it had things like, how many houses did you visit? How many hours were you out there in service? How many magazines did you play? So on and so forth. Quick interjection. I won't take long. I just wanted to tell you guys, YouTube's algorithm operates off of a few factors. Watch time, whether or not you subscribe, and whether or not you like something. So if you really want to help my channel, I would appreciate it if you guys watch the video to the end. If you don't watch it to the end, just watch a little bit longer than you would have otherwise. I would appreciate that very much. All right, let's get back to the video. Okay, I don't know if it's changed in recent years or what. I was a Jehovah's Witness back in 2010, somewhere in that vicinity. This is the report that I filled out every single month. You have to give one of these to the elders, and it just has the date that you went in service, the books you placed, the booklets or brochures, hours of service, individual magazines, and how many return visits you have, which means how many people did you con into saying, okay, you can come again and give me more stuff if you want. And then you total it out at the bottom, and then you put number of different Bible studies conducted during the month right here in the bottom right. I never conducted Bible studies myself because I didn't really go in service as much as I should as a Jehovah's Witness. And when I did go in service, I didn't take it seriously. I was just trying to get through it, you know? A lot of Jehovah's Witnesses are just trying to get through it. So anyways, yeah, and you put your name at the top and the month that it's for and everything else. That was the old field service report. It may still be the field service report. I don't know. But that's what Sophia apparently filled out and wanted to give to the dad. Now, if you don't turn one of these things in as a Jehovah's Witness for 3 months, I think. I don't remember how long it is. If you wait 3 months and you miss 3 of these, then it means that you're officially considered inactive. You're an inactive Jehovah's Witness, and people should distance themselves from you. I mean, you're not technically supposed to be shunned, but you shouldn't be, like, hung out with, basically. So anyways, like I said, as a man, as a baptized man, I turned my field service report in directly to the elders. And there was an elder, there are like 12 of them in each congregation over different responsibilities. The presiding overseer, the service overseer, I don't even know what the others are. Anyways, the service overseer will hunt you down and ask you if you have it, if you haven't turned one in. And that happened to me a few times. He comes up to me, name's Steve. It was Steve for a while, then it switched to Barry. Anyways, Steve says, hey, you got your service report for the month? I say, oh, let me go grab it real quick. I'd just grab a sheet and I'd fill out whatever, because I didn't want to be inactive, 12 hours, whatever. And by the time I was like leaving the religion, I was just sick of it, man. I didn't want to be in this anymore. Anyway, Sophia here is apparently turning hers into her father rather than the service overseer. Or rather than putting it in the box. There's a little box at the Kingdom Hall you can put it in. Or there used to be. I guess that's because the dad's the head of the household. I'm not sure if Sophia is baptized yet or not. Maybe she's just an unbaptized publisher. But being an unbaptized publisher, I believe, qualifies you to fill out this service report here. In the episode we're going to watch in a second, though, it shows Sophia showing an interest in getting baptized. So I don't know if she's been baptized yet or not. But keep listening here.
Okay. Dad, when can I be a publisher?
So you can see Caleb watching the process unfold, and peer pressure sets in. He wants to be part of it too. That's part of the childhood propaganda. It's not just the TV show. It's the kids' peers. You know what's fascinating? I was talking to my kid recently, right? I know it's about Caleb and Sophia. We'll get back to it, but this is important. I was talking to my kid recently. We moved from West Virginia to New York City, to Manhattan, right? And there are a lot of kids in Manhattan that are underprivileged, that don't have a lot of money. You would be surprised. Everybody thinks people in Manhattan are rich. They're not. There are a lot of underprivileged kids and a lot of underserved communities in Manhattan. It's split up into neighborhoods. Like Harlem is underserved. It's underprivileged, for example. Well, anyway, in West Virginia, my kid was telling me, you're looked at like you're a nerd if you get good grades. Getting good grades in West Virginia was like discouraged. But when you come to Manhattan, even the most underprivileged kid has their entire life mapped out for them from grade 2. You have to take an extra special test called the SHSAT that gets you into special high schools. These special high schools don't cost extra money. They're public high schools, free. But if you get a high enough score on the SHSAT, you'll get into these public high schools that are specialized. Bronx School of Science, Stuyvesant is one of them. Anyway, there are like 5 specialized high schools, and they only let in a total of 5,000 people, 10,000 people maybe per year, just kind of depends. Anyway, it's very, very few compared to the 1.2 million people in Manhattan and the 8.5 million in New York City total. Only letting in a few thousand is nothing, all things considered. So anyway, the culture in Manhattan is completely different. Peer pressure is everything. If the people around you are doing something, you want to do it too. My kid's grades went up 2-letter grades when we moved to Manhattan. Not because she was incapable of doing it before, but because her peers were doing it. They were doing the work. They were following through. They wanted good grades. Anyways, the point here is Jehovah's Witnesses actually isolate their children from other kids their age. There are a billion examples of it just in Caleb and Sophia videos alone. And that's very intentional. The reason for that is because they want kids to feel that peer pressure from other Jehovah's Witnesses. They want to show them turning in service reports and going in service and being excited about it and everything else.
Dad, when can I be a publisher?
Ah, you have brought this up before. When we're together in the ministry, you do very well when speaking at the door.
What's interesting here is Caleb is allowed to go door to door and knock with his parents or with other people or whatever, despite not being an unbaptized publisher, right? Unbaptized publisher is really only a role that non-Jehovah's Witnesses who have never been affiliated with the religion really need. But it's the first religious step to baptism. You have to be an unbaptized publisher before being baptized. So it's like, even though as the kid of a Jehovah's Witness, you are allowed to go door to door since you're already in the religion, kind of and affiliated with it. It's still encouraged to become an unbaptized publisher because that's when you start turning in time and, you know, all the other stuff. So I placed my first tract when I was 2 years old. 2 years old. My mom's holding me in her arm like so, gave me the tract, and I handed it to the person at the door. 2. I was obviously not an unbaptized publisher yet. Never had a shot, man. These kids don't have a shot at a normal childhood. Just sad.
So then I can?
Not just yet. It's like getting a license to drive a car. You have to be approved.
They've always got these silly little gags that play in this show because it's for kids, right? It's designed for kids. This is supposed to entertain children.
Oh.
We can discuss how the elders are involved in approving you. For now, let's see if you might qualify. First, do you obey Jehovah and your parents?
Yeah?
Oh, they're showing clips from one of the very first episodes.
Next, do you believe the Bible is Jehovah's word? And can you explain the basic teachings?
These are all from older episodes. I mean, this should show you that this TV show is grooming children to be Jehovah's Witnesses, to do exactly what Jehovah's Witnesses want them to do, right? I feel like that's fairly obvious based on who produced it and what we're watching and everything, but it's not so obvious to other people out there in the world, just doing their thing, living their lives. If you go to a door and there's a kid at the door, like, the parent has a child, which is actually pretty common. Maybe 50% of the homes that you knock on will have a child in it. You give your phone to the kid, you turn on a Caleb and Sophia video, and let them sit in the corner and be entertained by it, while you talk to the parent about being a Jehovah's Witness, about trying to convert them or whatever. This is not just intended for Jehovah's Witness kids. It's intended to propagandize to the children of parents who you're trying to bring into the religion.
Yes.
And are your friends Jehovah's friends?
Yeah.
Caleb, you are already doing very well. One last thing. Do you want to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses and...
Dude, okay, the animation style is different now, and I don't like it. I feel like the dad's lips are entirely too supple for his body, or for his face. These lips are entirely too kissable, and I am 100% straight, so that's kind of weird to me, to see kissable lips on this dude.
Witnesses and preach?
I do. I think I'm ready.
I think you are too. But we'll have to see what the elders decide. I'm so proud of you, son. Now, could you hand me that wrench?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Fascinating. So they're trying to get Caleb interested in door knocking, or really he's already door knocking. They're trying to get him interested in the first step to becoming a baptized Jehovah's Witness. You know why? Because when you get baptized, they ask you 100 questions in preparation for being baptized. But really, most importantly, they ask you 2 when you are about to be baptized. You're sitting there at a convention with, I don't know, between 500 and 10,000 Jehovah's Witnesses, depending on how big the convention is that you're at. And in front of all of these people, all of these witnesses to this event, they ask you 2 questions. The questions have changed over the years. I don't remember what they were when I was asked those questions. Again, I was baptized as a Jehovah's Witness. But here's what they are now. You're supposed to answer audibly and loudly and clearly and distinctly so everybody can hear. 1, have you repented of your sins, dedicated yourself to Jehovah, and accepted his way of salvation through Jesus Christ? You're supposed to say yes. And then 2, do you understand that your baptism identifies you as one of Jehovah's Witnesses in association with Jehovah's organization? Yes. And then they all clap. And then, you go to a changing room, you get dressed into your swimsuit and white shirt or whatever. You go up to the little thing, to the pool that they've got set up inside this convention center. Couple of elders standing in the pool, and they grab you, you hold your nose, they dunk you underwater, pull you back up, and you're baptized as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, just like that. But agreeing to those things effectively signs a contract, a verbal contract with Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, it's not legally binding, but they want you to think that it is. If you break that contract, you will be shunned by everybody in your life. Friends, family, mother, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, parents of all sorts, everybody in your life, everyone you ever knew or loved, they will pull the rug out from under you and watch you fall flat on your face and never speak to you again. I haven't had a relationship with my own mother in 15 years. I've spoken to her a few times, but it has not gone well. And it's been in events where there was like a death in the family. Here is actually a video of Serena Williams getting baptized as a Jehovah's Witness. I was describing the process here. So Serena Williams, if you're watching, you can see she's walking up. She's in her swim gear here. I just turn it down a little bit so it's not too loud because audio is irrelevant. But she's walking up, and you can see they have it on video. And she's got a swim cap, apparently. Got 2 elders. They have you in a specific position. This is exactly how you're supposed to stand. You hold your nose and you hold your wrist like this, and they put you under and pull you up. And I think the reason you're supposed to do that is because they use your wrists as like a piece of leverage to pull you back up afterward, because, dropping a body and picking it up can be kind of heavy. One of the highest paid tennis players of all time. And everybody claps. Anyways, yeah, that's what baptism looks like, if you were curious. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses have been encouraging Caleb and Sophia, i.e. the children of people who are studying with Jehovah's Witnesses, or the children of the congregation, to get baptized. Not just be unbaptized publishers, as we saw in this last video. The last video they released was titled The Steps to Baptism. Now just watch a couple seconds of this. Check this out.
Wow, that looks like me.
Dude, I really don't like the new animation style, honestly. I do not like it.
I have a question.
What is it, my dear?
How do you get baptized?
That's a good question.
And an important one.
See, again, they're trying to get these kids interested in these questions. It's not about Sophia, it's about the kid watching it.
Mom looks so young in this picture.
Oh, that's the mom, apparently. Okay. The mom, wow. That's a subtle message, isn't it? The mom looks so young in this picture. Wow. I.e., it's time to get baptized. As young as humanly possible. I've heard of kids getting baptized as young as 8. I don't believe you should be allowed to get baptized by law, i.e., sign a verbal contract with an organization that will enforce it by removing you from your friends and family's lives forever, until you're at least 18, at least. For one thing, it violates the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, Articles 18 and 20, I believe. Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 18. Everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. This right includes freedom to change his religion or belief, and freedom, either alone or in community with others, and in public or private, to manifest his religion or belief in teaching, practice, worship, and observance. Important words here being freedom to change your religious belief. And then Article 20, everyone has a right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association. No one may be compelled to belong to an association. Now, these are not binding human rights, but these are basically human rights that the whole world, by and large, has agreed. Like, every country has come together and agreed these are important rights. China doesn't respect all of them. The United States doesn't respect all of them. Canada doesn't. Australia, Russia. But by and large, these are accepted as important values to humanity. So Jehovah's Witnesses are violating Articles 18 and 20. Again, not binding, but I just want to point that out. They're compelling people to be a member of an association, and if you don't, they pull the rug out from under you. Any age, doesn't matter. Like I said, some kids get baptized at 8 years old, or 10, or 12. Hell, I was 14, I think. That's too young, okay? Unacceptably too young. And you know what happens when you have a question about it? You're not sure you made the right choice 3 years later? You know what happens when you break one of their thousands of rules? You don't want to use their Bible anymore, or you attend the funeral of somebody who's not a Jehovah's Witness. Yes, that'll get you disfellowshipped. You need a blood transfusion. You know what happens if you do something like that? At 14 years old, parents are instructed to give you the exact amount of care that they're instructed to give by law, and no more than that. You shouldn't be eating with the family. 14-year-olds, kids. This is instruction from the Watchtower Society themselves. Jehovah's Witnesses generally treat the Watchtower, which they write, as equally as important as the Bible, because it's Jehovah's interpretation that he handed down from on high to his prophets, the governing body. So the Watchtower, 2007 Watchtower, January 15th, page 20, talks about how you're supposed to handle a minor who's been disfellowshipped. And the answer is, hey, bad kitty, no. The little is tearing up the carpet. He has a scratching board. Why is he tearing up carpet instead of the scratching board? You know what? I'm not here to bag on my cat. Let's continue on with this story. If the child is capable, I'm talking to minor, if the minor is capable of supporting themselves or not being supported by you, if there is a family member that you can send them to who's not a Jehovah's Witness, if your mother is not a Jehovah's Witness and never was, and she's willing to take the child, send the kid with her. Get them out of the house if possible. Legally. If it's not possible, provide the minimum amount of support necessary to stay within the legal bounds and no more than that. Never talk about religious subjects to any degree ever. Never eat with them. Never eat at the same table. Specifically, they should be eating in their bedroom or in the living room or anywhere else. Never at the dinner table with you. 2007 Watchtower, January 15th, page 20. That still stands. In fact, that's fairly new as far as Jehovah's Witness doctrine goes. This is a reasonably new thing for them to have put out. They still follow stuff from the 60s. So, anyways, the fact that they're encouraging children as young as 8 years old to get baptized is horrific and disgusting to me.
Hey!
Yes, you can be young, like your mother. What matters is that you love Jehovah.
Wow, I expected him to say you can be young like your mother or old like blah, but no, they're not comparing it. You can just be young like your mother. They don't want you to be older. They want to get you as young as humanly possible, because the younger they can get you, the more likely it is that they can get a grip on you and hold on to it forever. Again, when I left, I lost my mom permanently for the rest of my life, and my sister and brother-in-law. My two brothers, no, I lost one brother because one was already disfellowshipped. I lost my father, I lost my aunt and my 2 cousins. I lost everything. I had nowhere to go. I had to climb in the window of some chick I knew from high school and sleep in her bedroom for 2 or 3 weeks without her family finding out. Pissing in Gatorade bottles because I couldn't use the bathroom or they would know that I was there. That's what they have set up here. I was in 11th grade when I was kicked out. This is a truly horrific thing that they're portraying here, they're setting up, and it's absolutely inexcusable.
What matters is that you love Jehovah and want to follow Jesus' teachings closely.
Well, Jehovah's Witnesses don't have Jesus' teachings correct. I mean, I can give you a variety of examples of Jehovah's Witnesses being wrong about their teachings. Let me just give you one. Disfellowshipping. That's not in the Bible anywhere. You know the context of disfellowshipping originally? Jehovah's Witnesses use the verse 1 Corinthians 5:11 to justify disfellowshipping, which is just completely removing them from the congregation, pulling the rug out from under them, destroying their lives at any cost. And here's what the verse says. It's written by Paul, and it's one of 2 letters written to the Corinthian congregation. Okay, this is after Jesus died, and Paul was trying to establish the new Christian church. Paul, by the by, never met Jesus, never talked to him, didn't really know who he was. He was only trying to set up the new church because he was a believer. That's it. So this letter was not even written by one of Jesus' disciples or apostles or whatever, one of the people that followed him around and learned from him. But okay, let's give it a listen here. But now I'm writing to you that you must not associate with anyone who claims to be a brother or sister, but is sexually immoral or greedy, an idolater or slanderer, a drunkard or a swindler. Do not even eat with such people. The reason this happened was because there's somebody in the congregation who was violating some rules and making the congregation look really bad. I don't remember what it was that the person was supposedly doing, but it was like sleeping with their sister or something. I don't remember. Anyways, they wrote to Paul and they said, "What do we do?" And he said, "Blah, don't dine with such a man." And the Corinthian congregation came back and said, "This is entirely too harsh. You're telling us not to hang out with this person. You're telling us to remove this person from the congregation entirely, cut him out of everybody's life that he ever knew. That's too much." And in the second letter that Paul wrote to the Corinthian congregation, he came back and he said, "You know what? You're right. That's too far. I was wrong. Don't do that. We don't want to cause undue sadness." The verse we're looking for, it's 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 5. Forgiveness for the offender is what it's called. "If anyone has caused grief, he has not so much grieved me as he has grieved all of you to some extent, not to put it too severely." So Paul's saying, I'm not the one that's paying the price or that's been grieved here. It's you that's been grieved. It's been you that's had to pay the price because you guys, the Corinthian congregation, are the ones that have to deal with the label of, oh my God, that congregation has a dude in it who sleeps with a sister or whatever. I don't even remember what he did now. So you were the ones that were grieved by this action, not me. And he says, the punishment inflicted on him by the majority is sufficient. Now, instead, you ought to forgive and comfort him so that he will not be overwhelmed by excessive sorrow. You catch that one? So he won't be overwhelmed by excessive sorrow. Forget it. Move on. The dude doesn't deserve to be grieved by excessive sorrow. You're right. And I was wrong in my first letter to the Corinthians. When I wrote you guys the first time, I said, don't even dine with such a man. But you're right. That's too much. I went too far. I apologize. Now, instead, you ought to forgive and comfort him so that he won't be overwhelmed by excessive sorrow. So that first letter to the Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 5:11, now I'm writing you that you must not associate with anyone who claims to be a brother or sister but is sexually immoral or greedy, blah, blah, blah. Jehovah's Witnesses use this as the basis for disfellowshipping when it was reversed in the very next letter, 2 Corinthians 2:5-8, basically. So he won't be overwhelmed with excessive sorrow. I urge you, therefore, to reaffirm your love for him. Reaffirm your love for him. Another reason I wrote you to see if blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the point is, Jehovah's Witnesses are wrong on that front, at the very least. Just that one. I could point out 50 doctrines where Jehovah's Witnesses are wrong. But just the disfellowshipping thing alone, especially disfellowshipping a minor, a 14-year-old kid, really? Does it get more depraved than that? Telling them they can't eat with you at the table, they have to eat in their bedroom because they got a blood transfusion, because they got in a car accident and the doctors needed to save their life, so they gave them a blood transfusion, because they aren't sure if this is what they believe anymore, because your ass got them baptized at 8 years old. I mean, really think about how depraved this is. Jehovah's Witnesses don't have Jesus' teachings correct. They don't. Again, I could name 50 doctrines. So keep listening here.
And want to follow Jesus' teachings closely.
You can show that you want to get baptized by what you do, like obeying your parents.
Learn about Jehovah by reading the Bible.
So this is supposed to be Sophia's mom on the left here, and this is Sophia's grandparents on the right, I suppose. Wow, look at that wicked mustache. I love that thing. But you notice the dude doesn't have a beard? Beards are banned in Jehovah's Witnesses' religion also. Not allowed to have a beard. Of course, Jehovah's Witnesses believe, Jesus had a beard. So what's their justification? You want to set yourself apart from the world. That's their justification. What's the real reason they banned beards? Because the founder, Charles Taze Russell, had a big bushy beard. And when he died, Halloween night, 1916, Joseph Rutherford, next in line to take charge, did a hostile takeover of the religion and dissolved the board and everything else and became president and renamed the religion to Jehovah's Witnesses from Bible students. And he wanted everybody to forget about his predecessor, Charles Taze Russell. So he banned beards, so everybody would think that he was the one that started the religion effectively. He wanted everybody to forget Charles Taze Russell. That is crazy. So anyway, that's why you don't see a beard on this guy, but you do see a mustache. By the way, that was in the 1930s when that happened, when he banned beards officially. Charles Taze Russell dies in 1916. Joseph Rutherford took over as the de facto leader of the board that existed at the time. And then he did a hostile takeover in 1933, seized all of the Watchtower Society's properties, and renamed the religion to Jehovah's Witnesses, fired everybody in the board. He was a judge and obviously a lawyer. You have to be a lawyer to be a judge, and he knew exactly what he was doing. 1933 is when all of that went down, roughly.
That will help you obey Jehovah and avoid things that Jehovah hates.
Then you'll want to share your faith with others.
Especially in the ministry.
And at the meetings.
So this is them portraying her doing giving an answer at the question and answer portion of Jehovah's Witness meetings. I used to answer all the time like this.
Make friends with others who love Jehovah.
Yep. You catch that one? Make friends with others who love Jehovah. I.e., don't be friends with outsiders. They have 1 billion examples of Caleb and Sophia videos discouraging kids from being friends with outsiders. But here's just one example of them encouraging friendships with insiders, at least.
Friends with others who love Jehovah.
And most importantly, tell Jehovah in prayer that you want to serve him forever.
That's why we get baptized in public. It shows others that we've dedicated our lives to Jehovah.
That's so cool.
So they're trying to encourage kids to get baptized here. At how old? 8? 10? Somewhere in that vicinity? How old are Caleb and Sophia? How old was the mom in that picture? No, that's not cool. Do you catch what she said? That's cool? Really? That's peer pressure. They want you to view being baptized as cool. Just like in West Virginia, where it was uncool to get good grades, and in Manhattan, it's cool to get good grades. That's so cool. Jehovah's Witnesses know that and are propagandizing. They're using peer pressure in the form of a video to pressure children into doing something.
That's so cool.
Would you like to get baptized one day?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you learn a little more about the steps for baptism and share it with us at Family Worship.
Okay.
Oh, God, it's so cringy. Look at these two. Dude puts his hand on his wife's shoulder, and she smiles and put her hand on his... Ugh, God, it's just so bad. Anyway, this is just childhood propaganda, plain and simple. I don't know how else to frame it. How else am I supposed to take this? This is childhood propaganda intended to hurt other kids, intended to force them into a contract that they are not old enough to fulfill, intended to force them into agreeing to something as early as humanly possible, because they know if somebody was faced with this decision in their right mind with all the facts in front of them, they'd never make this decision. That's called undue influence, by the way. It's something that you see every cult doing. They're trying to force people into decisions without all the information, without fully understanding the consequences of their actions. That's why it shows Sophia's mom at such a young age. That's why it shows Sophia asking about baptism at such a young age. That's why they want you to progress through the steps so early. If they can make you progress through the steps as quickly as possible, they've got you for life. They're not allowed to jail you by law. They can't put you in a prison cell if you break the rules, but they can put you in a mental prison. If you break the rules, they will remove everybody from your life that you ever knew and loved. That's what happened to me. That's what happened to countless other ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, kids. Again, 11th grade, okay? Hiding in some girl's bedroom. Pissing in Gatorade bottles because I had nowhere else to go in 11th grade. That's what Jehovah's Witnesses are setting up for kids with this. Let me know what you think about it in the comments.